All for joining this live trading session. Good to see hundreds of you in here. Let's kick this straight off. Now, of course, you know, I cannot tell you what to do. Everything you do is your own decision. Don't invest anything you can't afford to lose. Any advice is general in nature. And when it comes to day trading, as we all know, most of the time we are waiting, and that's the boring part. And that's why most people struggle with the psychology, because they want to get into trades. But it's only 10% buying, 10% selling, 80% of the time we're waiting. Patience is king. So we're currently up about 700 USD. So we're talking about 1,000 Aussie, probably a little bit more with the dollar at the moment. I have activated my alert. So when I enter and exit a trade, you're going to hear it live. Okay. So I did take a little test run here before to make sure that it was working before the live session, but you will be able to hear when I get in and out of positions. Now, what we do have here right now, ladies and gentlemen, is we are competing with this resistance here. And because I want to make sure that I give you guys the attention you deserve, I might look at the very least, we're going to put that in profit there. We're going to lock that in. So we've got absolutely no risk of losing any money. That's all right. Actually, pretty good resistance there. I might just close that out now and readjust after I go through my market update. I'm happy with 1,000 USD. Let's take that off the tables. There we go. Now you guys should have heard that order filled come through from TradeAway. Did anyone hear that? Let me know in the chat. Did you guys hear that? Yes or no? Yep. Okay, awesome. So what that means for you guys is when I get in and out of a trade, you guys are going to hear exactly when that is submitted through to the broker. So guys, let's just get straight into the charts. I want to give you as much value as possible as I can in the next hour. Okay, so we're going to get straight into the charts, straight into the market updates. And I'm going to give you the simple education that I always deliver for you so that you guys can make better decisions, more educated decisions, more probability-based decisions. Now, those of you who haven't been keeping up with the Bitcoin and the US dollar charts, I mean, fuck, have they not been on point? We haven't posted a losing Bitcoin chart or level in over 2 years, and that goes for the US dollar as well. Every single one of our levels and market updates has been pretty much to the dollar. So if you guys are paying attention, you can be taking advantage of this. An example here, you can see we called that top. I gave you the warning basically to the dollar, and then I also gave you the bottom here almost to the dollar, right? We had all the levels have worked to the dollar, but I just want to simplify this for you. Okay, so I'm just going to delete a few things off the chart here, and I'm going to remove all drawings just so this is what you guys look at. And a lot of people struggle with this. So I want to make this as educational as possible. But as we can tell, Bitcoin is obviously in an uptrend, right? So who's in control, guys? The buyers or the sellers? Very obvious the buyers are in control. Okay, and after a significant move in one direction, we need to, you know, cool off and consolidate, go sideways before we see a continuation in trend. So essentially, until proven otherwise, that is all that's happening right now. And when I look at this, you've basically got a long-term and a short-term analysis that you can do on the Bitcoin here, the Bitcoin chart. If we look at doing both to really simplify this for you, you want to mark these lows over here. Okay, so around just call it 90k, 89 to 90k to make it nice and easy. Remember, support and resistance, guys, it's not a line in the sand. Okay, it's a zone, and that's why I always use zones such as this. But to make this really easy for everyone, I'm just going to use lines today. Okay, so we've got a major support down here. Okay, which means if we break below this, you know, call it 88 to 90k level, this is long-term bearish. Okay, because we're breaking structure on all time frames, so this is long-term bearish. We don't want to lose this level. Now if we look at the major resistance, we can see up here we have this top, right? Call it between 108 to 109, right? Because we're only going to do a line in the sand, let's go there. Now, this, if we break above it, is long-term bullish. Now, in between every major support and resistance, ladies and gentlemen, we have pivot points, as you all know. So long-term bullish. So through the middle here, we have a pivot point. Okay, and if I draw that pivot point, I can start it, you know, roughly from here. I'm going to call it basically 100k. So we start it from here, 99 to 100k. That's 995. Good enough. Okay. Now, if we break or we stay above this, this is short-term bullish. Short-term bullish. And then below that level is short-term bearish. Is this making sense? This is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, pretty easy to follow along with. I'm going to get rid of that dot because I'm OCD. Perfect sense, okay? So you can think of these now as zones. If we're in, and you can even color them, right, if you like. I'm not going to bother, but you can color them, okay? And you can say, if we're in above this zone, we're long-term bullish. Below this zone, we're long-term bearish. If we're below the pivot point, we're short-term bearish. If we're above the pivot point, we're short-term bullish. Now you have your directions for trading. And this is as simple as you don't need to overcomplicate it. The charts that I'm seeing from some people online are really, really overcomplicated. And this is as simple as you need to make it. Above the pivot point is bullish in the short term. Below it is bearish in the short term. And then you've got your major support and your major resistance. If you break either of those levels, you guys know what to expect. Now, if we get a trend line and we put it, I'm not going to say that is the best level there. I'm actually going to go off this point here and say that's more accurate. If we can touch the upper half and do from that breakout point another 14 or 15%, you can see that that puts the top at around 120, 120K. So is 120K on Bitcoin unrealistic? Absolutely not. What do we need to do to get there? We need to be long-term bullish. So we need to break this level. Okay, very, very simple. So let's look at some stats from the crypto world and what's going to actually make us get from where we are now to where we want to be up there at 120K. And by the way, even though the trend is up, the buyers are in control, I'm expecting it to be long-term bullish and at least tag that 115 to 120K area. What I will show you is the liquidation map. Now, if we look at the liquidation map, guys, what we can see here is that everyone that is long on Bitcoin have their stop loss set between 98,000 to 100K. Like, can you see all of this volume up here? Okay, and so I would not be surprised because of all the stops that are around 98,000 if Bitcoin has a wick down to 98K, a little bit of a flush out down here, break that level. Maybe it's just a wick and then we continue higher. Is that unlikely? Not at all. Right, there's definitely data there to support that. But what do we need to get up to 120K? Well, we definitely need retail here. And so I know that Coinbase jumped up from 193rd on the App Store to 21st on the day that President Trump had his inauguration. And look, I don't want to get into politics. Don't care, what side you're on. Trump is good for the markets in terms of volatility. And I know people that have already made millions and he's not even really had a month in office yet. So we know that there's retail interest coming. How to buy crypto. The Google searches, they've just hit an all-time high. And that's the first time in 4 years we've had that hit. So we know that there's retail interest here. We know that retail get interested when Bitcoin or any asset for that matter is at an all-time high, because that's when everyone's talking about it. People are taking money, taking profit. They hear their friends, they see the advertisements, so on and so forth. The Bitcoin seasonality, if we look at February and March, I mean, these are typically good months, so seasonality favors. We called out the December to January flush. We got that literally to the dollar. And you guys tell me, were you worried? No, because you were prepared. You were expecting it. You knew it was coming and it happened and you had a game plan, right? So the people that didn't, they're the people that lost 30, 40% on their altcoin portfolios, or they were sweating because they sold it. They got flushed out and they sold at the bottom and then went back up. But you guys were prepared. You guys were a step ahead, and that's what it's all about. So seasonality favors the uptrend. Buyers are still in control. You guys know what you're doing there with the Bitcoin chart. I've made it pretty easy to navigate this, giving you easy concepts. Does everyone understand this? We'll be happy to move forward to another chart.